We begin today with Wikileaks co-founder Julian Assange, who has shaken things up at the United Nations General Assembly. Speaking via video link from the Ecuadorian embassy in London, Assange addressed the assembly last night.
We agree that freedom and self-determination are not merely American or Western values, but universal values. And we agree with the President when he says that we must speak honestly if we are serious about these ideals. It is time for President Obama to do the right thing and join the forces of change, not in fine words, but in fine deeds.
Assange covered a lot of ground condemning the treatment of accused whistleblower Bradley Manning, to calling out President Obama for cracking down on Wikileaks while hailing free speech in the Middle East and the Arab Spring. This information has just been released that suggests the U.S. has declared Assange enemy of the state. Assange has been holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for 100 days now, as the UK threatens to arrest him the moment he sets foot outside of the building. Today, the foreign ministers of Ecuador and the UK met in hopes of finding a resolution to the diplomatic standoff. For more on these latest developments, WikiLeaks spokesperson Kristen Hrafson joins us now from New York. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us. So these declassified documents, they were obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request, suggest the U.S. has declared Assange an enemy of the state. What are the implications of this, and what does this mean for Assange?
Well, this is very serious that the U.S. military has made this, declared basically WikiLeaks as an enemy. This comes up in the investigation into possible cooperation of a servicewoman in the U.S. military working in the UK. She was under suspicion of having cooperated with WikiLeaks, and it was defined as communicating with the enemy. Now, of course, it has very serious implication if WikiLeaks has indeed been categorized as the enemy. We all know what that means, basically.
So, I mean, does that mean that he's essentially now in the same category as the Taliban or a member of Al-Qaeda?
That would seem to be the implication, and that is how it's interpreted by the legal team of Julian Assange.
Wow. I want to play a clip now of Julian Assange himself addressing the UNGA last night.
The US administration is in trying to erect a national regime of secrecy, a national regime of obfuscation, a regime where any government employee revealing sensitive information to a media organization can be sentenced to death, life imprisonment, or espionage, and journalists from the media organization with them.
Well, there he is. Assange has expressed fear that he could face the death penalty if he indeed does get extradited to the United States. But at this point, the U.S. has not issued any criminal charges. So why does Assange fear this worst-case scenario?
Well, not officially. There are indications that a sealed and secret indictment might already be in place. We are not sure that it does, but we have documents that are indicating that. When you look at the scope of the persecution against WikiLeaks, the 42,000 documents that have been gathered in the attempt to find ways to indict Julian and possibly others associated with WikiLeaks. If you look at the grand jury that's been sitting since last year in secrecy in Virginia, trying to find ways and means to prosecute Julian Assange, you see there is a real danger here. And we see from evidence that have been leaked out and published that there are references when people have been subpoenaed to the grand jury to the Espionage Act of 1917, which carries the death penalty. So it's a real and serious threat.
And does he look to the way things have played out for accused whistleblower Bradley Manning as, I guess, a precedent of what could happen to him if he were extradited to the U.S.?
Well, look at the treatment of Bradley Manning is absolutely horrible. I mean, he was kept for more than 8 months under conditions which were conditions of torture, as categorized by the Special Rapporteur of Torture, Juan Mendez of the UN. So that could be expected if he is extradited to the United States.
Now, I do want to take a moment now to listen to some more remarks made by Julian Assange last night, where he refers to President Obama and his speech before the UN.
I'm reminded of the phrase, the audacity of hope. Who can say that the President of the United States is not audacious? Was it not audacity for the United States government to take credit for the last 2 years of progress? Was it not audacious for him to say on Tuesday the United States supported the forces of change in the Arab Spring? Tunisian history did not begin in December 2010, and Mohamed Bouazizi did not set himself on fire so Barack Obama could be re-elected.
All right, so we just heard Assange pointing to what he sees as President Obama being hypocritical when he advocates free speech in the Middle East. Why does he think the president is using the Arab Spring for political gain?
Well, that is obvious. He is trying to use it for political gain because he's a politician, and he is a hypocrite. Because if you look at how the U.S. was supporting the dictators that were overthrown, Ben Ali regime in Tunisia and Mubarak in Egypt, they had full support of the U.S. government up until the last moment when it was obvious that they would be pushed aside by the popular uprising in this region. And they even tried to have a hand in who would succeed Mubarak in Egypt, and the prime candidate was the one who had been overseeing the torture chambers under the Mubarak regime. So of course it's hypocrisy to try to claim some credit and support for the Arab awakening.
I'm going to get to an important meeting that took place today between the Foreign Secretary, William Hague, and his Ecuadorian counterpart. Was there any progress made in this diplomatic stalemate that has been ensuing for the past 100 days?
According to my information, there was nothing definite that came out of this. There's no solution as yet, but the Ecuadorians are working very hard, and they are coming up with ideas and keeping the dialogue open and doing a fantastic job. So I'm very hopeful that in the end there will be a solution, and Julian Assange will be allowed safe passage out of the embassy in London to Ecuador.
But there hasn't been any measurable progress made in terms of reaching a solution.
Not to my knowledge, but as long as people are talking and as long as the UK government is not threatening to storm the embassy in Ecuador as they did in a few weeks ago, that can be called progress.
Okay, here we are. Assange has been holed up for 100 days now. Surely that is taking some kind of a toll on him. How would you describe Assange right now?
Well, I mean, I met him in person in London a few days ago, and he's in good spirits, and he's holding out pretty well. He's been taken care of, and he's very busy, of course, working and keeping a strict schedule. But of course, it takes a toll to be locked inside for all this time. But he is a strong man and determined, and he can hold out for a long time there.
Now, would you say that he's remaining hopeful? I mean, how does he see this playing out? What options is he looking at?
Well, I think he is hopeful that there will be a solution on this, and I think I share his hope, and that is what we all share in Wikileaks. We hope that justice will prevail, and that's what keeps us strong and keeps us going.
All right, Kristen, really appreciate you coming on the show. That was
You're
Wikileaks spokesperson, Kristen Hrafson.
Thanks for having me.